Hello. Yes, I'm Dan Mecca from the film stage. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How you doing, Dan?
Good. I have to tell you, this is an honor for me. I don't say this to many people, but I'm a producer by day, and you are one of the main reasons watching your movies when I was a younger
Oh
man.
man, thank you. Appreciate you saying that.
So, yeah, it's an honor to speak with you. Thanks for taking the time. So, congrats on the new movie. I was watching it, I was fascinated by so now you've been doing it 30 years, really more, right? Since you were filming the
Yep.
Brothers McMullen. What like s- you were filming on film, now it's digital. You've done every version of digital. What has changed? What has stayed the same? Like what has not changed in all of the change that's happened?
The thing that never changes is, after, you call action
Yeah.
and your actors are in front of the lens and I'm either, behind the camera or in front of the camera on them. It doesn't matter how big the scene is, how small the scene is, like what is happening there just doesn't change. That is the magic. That's the thing I've always been attracted to. If you know my work, like, it's for me, I fell in love with screenplays and dialogue before I fell in love with, let's say, visual storytelling. I'm not the most cinematic filmmaker, but I would like to think that my stuff, my characters are grounded in reality. They feel authentic. They feel relatable. So that never changes, whether we were shooting, 16 on
Right.
McMullen or, shooting on the red on this film. That's that's always got to be the same.
It's funny you mentioned the visual because Miller's in Marriage, which obviously came out earlier this year, and then Family McMullen. You you can obviously tell, and I'm sure you know this, your sense of visual space, though, because I was rewatching Brothers McMullen last night, and it's like you really have mastered that Woody Allen master shot,
Mm.
and Miller's has a lot of that, and it's really beautifully done where there's just not much editing, which is
Yeah,
obviously where was there a turning point for you? Like you've made what, 15, 16, directed
yeah.
15, 16 movies. Was there a turning point where the visual sense of it became more comfortable for you as a director?
I mean, I look back, what I because quite honestly, when McMullen came out, there was a lot of criticism of the look of the film,
Hmm.
you know. Uh and I was the first to admit, we had a three-man crew. We couldn't afford to move the camera. We didn't have a lighting kit, that is what it was. So, you know, so moving forward, I tried, I still worked with limited budgets, but I tried to educate myself and tried to get the camera moving more and tried to learn how to tell the story visually. And you mentioned Woody Allen and those moving masters. Definitely fell in love with that. I did a television show. I can't remember. It was 2010. It was called Public Morals.
Yeah.
It was set in like 1962 in New York. And that's the first time I had a real budget and a big crew and all of the toys that all of my peers had been playing with for 15 years.
All right.
And I still work with the same DP, Will Rexer, and that was the one. Like we had finally had the time.
Huh.
Like again, this film I think we shot it in 22 days,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
which is, as you know, as a producer, that's a rock and roll schedule.
Yeah, yeah.
Public
You've
Morals,
done
we had a
every
lot.
you've done every version of
I've
it.
done every version of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Public Morals, we had a real schedule. So that
Yeah.
was, in getting prepped for that, that's when I just watched all of the filmmakers that I have admired but never really studied
Yeah.
from a what to do with the camera standpoint. And that was the changing moment for me. Like that's where I learned, I would say, how to be a filmmaker in that respect.
Do you have films? I mean, well, actually, before I get off of Family McMullen, there's so
Yeah.
much. What I loved about the new one is you go back to the internal monologue.
Yeah.
That I honestly had forgotten it was in the first one because you don't revisit that a lot in Sidewalks of New York has the kind of docu,
Yeah.
but that's different.
Yeah.
Was it fun going back to that? That's like a fun kind of a cheat code thing that works well.
It really was,
Yeah.
and it's funny, I had forgotten about that as well. And when I wrote the first version of this script, It didn't have that.
Okay,
And,
okay.
then I went back and, I watched chunks of McMullen. It's hard for me to sit there and watch the whole thing, quite
Is that
honestly.
right?
Yeah, it just, I mean, again, I was 23 when I wrote it. But there are sections that I like.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I liked and I was like, oh, I forgot I've got these voiceovers, these internal monologues. It should be a fun thing to bring in. So that was fun to revisit that. And then there were other little things that were just, little Easter eggs we kind of wanted to
Yeah.
plant for any of the diehards. But really, I wanted to make sure that it was um, a true sequel to the film, but I also, if you never saw the first film, I wanted this to work on its own, and I think for the most part it does.
I wanted to mention this because I've watched everything you've done, and uh, Juliana Canfield's so good in this new
Oh,
movie. And what was funny is I was catching up with some stuff I'd missed. You worked with her on that Amazing Story show.
exactly, yeah.
And so is that where you met her?
That's where I met her, and I
Yeah.
said to her, I said, like, and she played like we played like some kind of government
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
agents or something with like really stilted dialogue.
yeah.
But she is so funny in real life. I was like, Juliana, I am gonna write you a
She's so
part
good.
one day, like that matches your personality.
Yeah.
And Pico I had worked with as well
Right.
and wrote this part for him. And I kind of knew like to get they kind of remind me a little bit of one another, their deliveries. I'm like, if I can get these two on screen together, that's gonna be some magic. And
Where, yeah. Where do you're so good at casting younger people, even to the point of, Connie Britton at the
yeah,
beginning, right?
yeah.
And Mike McGlone, who you still work with and is great. And like, why, how? Like, people aren't good at casting young people. What do you think it is? Why are you good at it, do you think? Do you have like an eye for it? I was trying to figure it out watching your movies. Did you just have a really good knack for finding people? Is it just the DIY of it all, or what do you
It
think?
might be the DIY. A part of it is like we can't afford usually to hire someone who's already a star.
Sure.
Um, I think that, but I have to give a lot of credit to, my casting director I've been working with forever is a woman named Mary Beth Box.
Mm,
And what's great about Mary Beth is like, she's here in New York and she's going to showcases and she's going to the off Broadway show. And if she sees some young kid that she likes, she makes sure that she brings them in. And a lot of times, trying to think of someone, if I have an example of someone who um I might, well, I'm spacing right now, but there have been cases where it's like, she's like, all right, this actor's come in for me for the last 5 years. He was very green when he first came in. He's getting better and better. He got a
okay.
guest spot on this. He got a small part on this. I think he's about to pop. Um, and that's kind of who she is. So she's been enormously helpful with that.
Yeah,
I know
it's
you
such an
like to take
under.
chances on on people who, so much you can't get the job unless you have been in the big studio movie. So we're kind of a place where those actors who are knocking on the door hopefully can get that exposure that gets them the next big gig.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I even think back to like me like discovering you. I was trying to think back, and it's fun. Obviously, Saving Private Ryan, which is the Spielberg film, but like you have one of the great monologues in that movie, and I remember like connecting it with you. And then I think Sidewalks of New York is the one I watched, where it just seemed like a cool movie, and I was younger.
All
And
right.
then you go down the rabbit hole of just like, who is this
Okay.
guy? Let me just watch his movies, as I got more into film, and it's interesting the writing always, and so I read your book when it came out last year. Congrats on that. It's very
Thank you.
good. You worked in so many different mediums. You like made a comic book. Didn't you do a comic book
Did
at
a
one point?
comic book once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like when you're working in all these mediums, like how does one help the other? Like does it just broaden your horizons of like how to like m- achieve things narratively or
I think so. Like again, kind of like my start was as a storyteller, right? Like, I mean, I even think like when I was doing the book tour for the novel,
yeah,
um, I tell this story about like growing up in a big family where being able to hold court, all
yeah,
my uncles and my cousins were all so funny. So as we got older and you're hanging out in the bar and drinking, and the guys or gals who could tell that story, there
yeah.
was real value in that. And that first, let's say, oral storytelling was, something I really fell in love with. And then
Yeah.
as I became a writer, I love storytelling, but I was attracted to smaller stories, character-driven stories. But I think the reason I love dialogue is the dialogue is the talk in the bar or around the dinner
Yeah.
table, like that. Those overlapping dialogue and stories. So whether it's the novel or or the films or
Shows,
trying
yeah.
my hand at the comic book, it's again comic book, a lot of dialogue, right? So it's just
Right.
sort of like that's just kind of what I love.
Yeah, I mean, and it's I was reading and listening to interviews, and what I think is fascinating about you now is you had a quote where you said that when you worked with Tyler Perry, he said to, I guess it was about Fitzgerald Family Christmas or
Yeah.
before that, where he was like, super
Super
feed your
serve your
niche.
niche.
So, right,
Yep.
right. And that's what I think is funny. And I feel like you have this for somebody who has done it his way his whole career, basically. What I do think is interesting about you is you've also weirdly been at the forefront of a lot of stuff. So, like the Purple Violets thing being the first iTunes movie exclusively, all of these things working with, the 5D and all these different cameras kind of before other people were. And then similarly, like all of media now is Tyler Perry, is that phrase,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
Like, and you do that, right? Like McMullen, the sequel to McMullen for obvious reasons, but even like I feel like Miller's like you have really refined like the people who like my stuff like this, and I like doing it like this. And so whether it's newlyweds, right, you made for 10 grand or whatever, or something bigger like this or Miller's, you're really perfecting that your own genre, which is
Yeah.
interesting. Do you haven't acted in somebody else's stuff in a long time? Do you think you'll go back to that or no?
I don't think so. Quite honestly, I haven't had an agent or a manager in I think 12 years. And
Oh
that's
wow,
the
okay.
last time I acted in someone else's thing.
Right.
You get to a certain point where, if look, I was so lucky with my career. Like the first movie I act in that isn't one of mine, it's Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, yeah.
Second movie's 15 minutes opposite De
I
Niro.
know.
Then I'm Confidence with Dustin Hoffman, Life or
I
Something Like
wanted
It.
to ask you about Confidence. I love
Great
actually,
movie,
and
right? I
James
love it too.
Foley, he just passed
Just
away.
passed away. Yep.
I wrote they're re-releasing oh my God, At Close Range.
Oh, okay,
And
great.
I wrote one of the essays in the booklet. And I was gonna ask you for just a James Foley story because that Confidence is one of those underrated. I love that movie so much.
I mean, Foley was a great, great friend of mine. Anytime I went to LA, we had dinner
Really.
together. We stayed in touch all the way to the end. Yeah, just he was a special, beautiful guy. Yeah, it
I
was so,
always think of the coverage of the when you guys are planning the con and he uses the traffic as the crosscut.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
I
that was
still I
fantastic.
still think about that. I
I
like
stole
love that.
that. What did we steal that in? Oh, I've definitely stole. Oh, maybe we stole that in Public Morals. We may have
Yeah,
done
yeah,
the long lens from across the street to use
yeah.
the car buys as the cuts. Yeah,
It's amazing. It's
yeah, it
such
was
a good,
great.
and I listened on the commentary, him talking about like, well, we couldn't afford to do it, so we just like
Yeah.
long lensed it. We just shot there and like, but that's interesting. So you really are in a space now of I'm gonna write my books, I'm gonna make my movies as long as they'll let me, type of a
Yeah,
thing.
because what happened was, as an actor, if you aren't lucky enough to get to a certain level, right, where you're getting to play those kind of lead, that's the point I was getting to. Like you're getting to be a lead in a Dustin Hoffman movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
At a
yeah,
certain point, you then start becoming the schnook dad or the goofball cop who gets killed in the horror movie or whatever it is.
yeah,
And that was never, I mean, I started as a writer and then I went to be a writer director and then actor by default. So, when the parts got less and less rewarding, I just kind of bowed out and just said,
yeah,
I was also my kids were at a certain age where it's like I could stay home in New York and guarantee that I could be home with them by making my small indie movies in New York.
yeah.
But now, my kids are in college now, and I mean, if the right role came across, I would certainly consider it, but it's not something that I'm actively pursuing.
Right, you're not pursuing it. Do you have, looking back, was there a hardest movie to make?
Oh yeah, a movie called Summer Days, Summer Nights,
That was
which
the hardest movie?
that was the hardest movie to make. We shot it in 22 days. It was period.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
it
true.
was, it was a big ensemble.
Yeah,
We were completely restricted by where we could point the camera because it was set in
sure.
1982. So on every street, like literally just outside the frame,
Right.
it was, 2000, whatever that was, 18.
Yeah.
And we dealt with a lot of water, which on a low budget indie
Oh,
movie is
because you're
very
out there. Yeah.
difficult because you need to have sort of safety crafts and Aquaman to be standing by. And there are a lot of company moves, which I usually never do. I typically try to not move the trucks on any day.
That's
So that
true.
was one that was just it required amount of focus. And who knows, maybe I was just a little older at that
Sure.
time. You know
Well, I
what I
was
mean?
going to say another period movie you made, Ash Wednesday, which is a movie, which is a movie that's like apt for rediscovery. What's funny is the other person who I've been lucky enough to interview, who's like that person in my life of like wanting to make movies, is Ethan Hawke.
Hmm.
And what's funny is that I don't know if you even know this, but that
His
same
novel.
year, his novel came out
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
called
We
Ash
ran into
Wednesday.
one another in a restaurant that year.
Did you really?
Yeah, yeah. I
It's
totally
funny
remember.
because I love that. Love that movie and I love that novel. And I was like, God, that's so weird. My two guys
Yeah,
made a movie and a book the same year.
that's funny.
But I wanted um y- um I the one other thing, speaking of New York producing, that I wanted to mention is this is more of just a comment. I love the B&H commercials as somebody who's there all the time. You know it because you know that world. I'm like,
Oh,
oh dude,
totally, totally. I've been
I
going there for
love
years. I loved it when they asked me to do it. And they're very New York. I got to lean into my
Well, and
New.
that's what I love about it. It's like if you work in production there, you're like, oh, this is the perfect guy to do these commercials
Yeah.
because but okay, so as we come to the end, I just wanted to mention so yeah, we talked about confidence. Is there, I guess, to the point of the Ash Wednesdays of it all, is there a movie you have um from the past that you're like, this one has aged well and should be kind of rediscovered? And is there one that jumps out?
It's a good question. A lot of people will come up to me and they love two movies that disappeared without a trace. The Groomsmen and Purple Violets, which are two
Yeah.
films that I'm really disappointed in. I looked at them maybe 5 years ago and there are things I wish that's one where quite honestly I wasn't disciplined enough as a screenwriter, both those movies. Sidewalks of New York is definitely my favorite film. Uh,
Oh, really? Yeah, it's a good one.
that I've made. A movie called No Looking Back.
I was gonna bring it up.
That one, that's got some of my favorite stuff in it. And it's interesting, the casting, it's Lauren Holly and Bon Jovi, and I got slammed for casting them in the movie.
Yeah.
Um, but when you look at it now, and so much time has been removed, and you just like, you just see two actors in the movie. You don't know who they are or
Hmm.
what their moment was in 1996 or seven.
Yeah.
That movie, I think, is like, I really do. I love that film.
That's it. That was the one I was going to bring up. I rewatched it recently and I was like, this is great. Like
Yeah,
it's the compositions in it. It's like really good. That's like really, if there's a way to like up res a 4K and put it out, I don't know. That's a great one. I need you to tell me just because I've always wanted to ask you this. It's so crazy that Tom Petty scored your second movie,
yeah.
basically. How did that happen?
It's a great story. All right, so we when we sell Brothers McMullen to Fox Searchlight,
Yeah,
Fox, their music department wanted a lot of people were putting like a pop song on the tail credits,
back then, yeah.
and that was turning into a hit. So a lot of artists who had like let's say a leftover song from the last album, so they wanted to do that with McMullen. I'm 27 and I'm, young and arrogant and naive. When they suggest this to me, I'm like, well, you can't do that. Seamus Egan has the song at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Seamus, traditional Irish folk musician with an instrumental. And he gave me all his music for free. So I was like, no way. And they said, well, maybe Seamus has an artist that he likes. Would you consider that? So I said, all right. So I wrote to Seamus, and he gave them three artists that he liked. Number one on the list was Sarah McLachlan.
Oh
So
yeah,
they're like,
right.
oh, we'll send the movie to Sarah McLachlan and see if she wants to write a song for the end of the movie. She does that. She watches the movie and she says, well, I don't want to write a new song. I love the song that's there. Why don't I just write lyrics on top of it? We'll record that. So that becomes I Will Remember You.
Crazy.
So
Yeah.
Seamus Egan, this, like he's playing, traditional Irish music in bars in Boston, Philly, and New York. And then he gets a co-writing credit um, with um, with Sarah McLachlan. And it's funny, Seamus now, because he did McMullen, he did the music for the family McMullen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was gonna say,
Finally
yeah.
able to pay him. So after that, with Fox, hold on, my phone is ringing. I'm just gonna turn this off for a second. All right. Um, then after that, so for She's the One, we also make it with Fox, and they're like, hey, we want to do the same thing, get a song for the tail credits. And somebody at Fox was very good friends with Petty's manager. So they're like,
Uh,
are you okay if we send the movie to Petty? I'm like, great. They send the movie to Tom Petty. It comes back. Tom loves the movie, wants to talk to you. Can you fly out to LA, meet him at his house? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? All right. So and of like anybody, I'm a huge Petty fan. Fly to LA, go to his house, we hang out, we bullshit for a little while. And he's like, so come back, I want to play the song for you. I think he's gonna put like in a CD. We go into a room, he takes his guitar, he plugs it into an amp. I sit across from him, 3 feet from him, and he plays me Walls.
there you go.
And he's like, what do you think? And I'm like, I can't even believe I'm fucking here. Are you kidding me? Like, this is fantastic. Uh, he goes, well, I have another one if you want to hear it. Then he played Angel Dream.
Sure.
And basically, he says, well, which one do you want to use? And I was like, well, I have a crazy idea. You know how in The Graduate and Simon and Garfunkel,
Yeah.
they extracted the melody from Mrs. Robinson and used that as the score? Would you ever be interested in that? 3 weeks later, I'm in the studio with
Wow.
Tom, Mike Campbell, Ben Mont, and the band, and they're scoring the film Two Picture. Like it was
That's
just
amazing.
the most incredible, incredible experience. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. A good story to end on. Man,
Yep.
thank you so much for talking to me. It's an honor. Thank you. Congrats on
And I
everything.
really appreciate it, man. Thank you for the kind words.
All
And
right.
good luck with your films.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate
All
it.
right.
All
Be
right.
good.
Bye.
Bye.